That evening, Sunjin arrived home at midnight, exhausted from a long day filled with endless meetings. He sat at his kitchen dining table, staring at the lunch bag Minsu had brought for him earlier. He wished he could eat the food, but since it had been delivered in the afternoon, it was no longer in a good state. Looking at his phone, he contemplated calling Minsu, but hesitated, thinking she might be asleep. Instead, he sent her a simple text asking if she was still awake. He waited for a response, and when a few minutes passed without one, he decided to head to his room. Just as he was about to go, his phone beeped. Minsu had replied, telling him she was still up. A bright smile spread across his face as he quickly grabbed his phone. He texted back, telling her he missed her, and she responded that she missed him too. She then asked if he had received his lunch. Sunjin smiled, took a picture of the lunch bag, and sent it to Minsu with a smiley face. She replied, saying she hoped he had enjoyed the meal. He explained that he hadn't been able to eat it since he had just gotten home, and then asked if she wanted to meet up for a quick meal. Minsu eagerly responded with a yes and a smiley face. Without wasting any time, Sunjin grabbed his car keys and rushed out the door. Minsu was so excited that she couldn't contain herself. She decided to wait for Sunjin in the parking lot. As soon as his car pulled up, he stepped out and went straight to her, pulling her into his arms without a word. He whispered in her ear, asking her to let him hold her for a few moments. They stayed in each other's embrace, realizing just how much they had longed for one another. When they finally pulled away, Minsu looked at him with concern and asked if he was okay and if he had been eating well. Sunjin smiled and reassured her that he was trying his best, though he had been thinking about her most of the time. He then asked if she wanted to go to his place, mentioning that he had asked the chef to prepare something for them. Minsu nodded, and they both got into his car and drove off. Upon arriving at Sunjin's place, they were met with a beautifully set-up dinner. Surprised, Sunjin looked at Minsu and told her he had only asked the chef to prepare a simple meal and had not expected such an elaborate setup. Minsu smiled and assured him that it was okay. As they sat down, Sunjin couldn't take his eyes off her. He was happy to have even a little time to spend with her. He then assured her that he was working tirelessly so they could be together. Curious, Minsu asked how everything was going and whether he was seeing any results. Sunjin's expression changed. The stress was evident on his face. He explained that he was trying to expand the business outside Asia, but needed a strong partner company as they did not have enough funds to do it alone. He had been attending numerous meetings and strategizing non-stop. Minsu listened attentively and could see how stressed he was. She reached for his hand and reassured him that he was doing a great job and that she would always be by his side. Sunjin smiled and told her that he would do his best to stay in touch with her, despite his busy schedule. As they enjoyed their dinner, Sunjin's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and saw that it was Kim. Minsu encouraged him to answer, reminding him that they were engaged after all. Reluctantly, Sunjin picked up the call. Kim told him she was at his door, saying she had been worried about him and wanted to check on him. He told her it was late and that she shouldn't have come, assuring her that he was fine and she could go back home. Kim insisted, saying she had been trying to see him for weeks, and now that she had the chance, she wasn't going to leave so easily. Sunjin didn't want to open the door, but looked at Minsu, who signaled that it was okay to hear what Kim had to say. He sighed, walked to the door, and opened it. Kim walked in, excited, and immediately tried to hug him, but he stopped her, asking her to say whatever she had come to say. Kim explained that she knew how hard he was working and that he didn't have to. Since they were getting married, her family's company would definitely help Tech bloom. Sunjin looked at her and firmly stated that there was not going to be a marriage between them. He told her that the reason he was working so hard was not to marry her, and that he had absolutely no feelings for her. Kim laughed and told him there was no going back. She informed him that his father had already agreed to the marriage and that the whole world knew about their engagement. Moving closer, she suggested they start discussing their wedding plans. As she walked further into the living room, she was stunned to see Minsu sitting there,